Hello everyone, welcome to another Warhammer 3 multiplayer domination battle video. This time I am playing as Nurgle, and I'm going against Kislev, being led by Kislev. So, for my army briefly, I have a big row of Nurglings who are not particularly impressive, but they have a lot of HP, and that's it. They're cheap. All Nurgle units have this Cloud of Flies ability, so when engaged in melee, these guys get up to 33 melee defense, which is pretty good. They can survive for a long time. Two Furies, one Rotflies unit, and the Exalted Great Unclean one. This guy is a pretty good spellcaster. He's got Fleshy Abundance, which is a fantastic healing spell. You can see exactly how much healing it provides, and when you've got over 10,000, that's quite a bit of healing. Curse the Leper's fun, and Stream of Corruption is alright. I took his AoE Mortis Engine ability, which basically means in a small area around him, he drains the HP of all units if he's in melee. Very good. I took the Beast of Nurgle because I was like, I probably need some armor-piercing damage. That was my thinking. And for my opponent, he has Kislev on his bear, and Rasputin has basically all of his abilities. He doesn't have the charge bonus one, but I don't think that one's even super good. He has the healing one, that's really the important one, and Tor's Battle Hymn is great as well. He has a Tempest Girl on a horse who has these spells, seem alright. And then a couple of Kossars with bows. He has the Heavy War Sled, so this thing is kind of a terror. It's a very good sort of chariot cavalry unit that actually has a very strong charge bonus of 46. They hit very hard in melee, mostly armor-piercing damage, just tears through infantry. But on top of that, you've got a bunch of units in the back line in this little cart here with guns. And you really don't need to do much micro on these guys. They'll kind of just kill everything. You don't need to send them into melee for them to be good. And then he has a big artillery piece. So that's all. Again, domination, 3 points, 5,000 tickets, you win. So I'm sort of moving my Air Force around up here in these cliffs. I'm trying to get into a better position because I see he has these war sleds and I don't really want to be in their circle. They do a lot of armor-piercing damage. Granted, as Nurgle, I'm sort of a little freed from that because I don't have armor in my units. My units, kind of like Slaanesh in that way, don't have too much armor. More than Slaanesh, of course, but Nurgle's main defensive trait is just a big stack of HP. So his heavy war sleds are coming up and they're shooting. You can see little Grom is also ripping cannon shots into my Nurglings, just massacring them, but that's okay. That is what I recruited them to do, recruited them to die. And he's just taking some shots here at my units. One of Nurgle's fun traits is that they're very slow. All of their units are very slow, apart from their flying troops. So it's very hard to get around the battlefield. Thankfully, you've got this nice 3-minute timer, so I move up the Nurglings, my Lord, the Beast of Nurgle. I kind of have him fall back because I don't want him to get shot. We get a nice little surround here on these Kossars with bows. Trap him between my units. On this side, my opponent summoned a unit of armored Kossars, pretty just armored shield guys, and I summon some Plague Bearers. Not much to say, like a very poor unit, but giant stack of HP. I do summon in some Plague Toads of Nurgle, a good anti-infantry unit. Should do okay against armored Kossars. Here in the middle, these guys who we trapped are not having a good time, surrounded by Nurglings. The bear chariots did come in, and they are doing some damage, but this is kind of where Nurgle thrives, is like in a big dumb blob fight, where he can just grind you down slowly. There's some nice Tempest shards sent from the sky. Yeah, it kind of kills my Furies unit. I used a few of my Air Force to try to harass little Grom to stop him from firing temporarily. Yeah, but we do lose I do lose the Furies. In exchange I get a Kossars. Not a particularly good trade. I just managed to dodge that skill shot from the Tempest girl, who I actually catch over here with my Furies. And you can see this is why aerial units kind of they're a little bugged currently. Something about their charge animation doesn't actually work because she was, you know, basically fully surrounded by those harpies. I keep calling them damn harpies, the Furies, and taken almost no damage. You know, effectively full HP. But eventually the Furies will get the idea, and I send the Rotflies over to help too, because I'm thinking, like, why isn't she dying? Why is she at full HP? She's actually capturing the point single-handedly. So Kistalton's over here, trying to hit my Great Unclean One. I cast Fleshy Abundance, and you can see doing, you know, pretty insane healing. My Lord was pretty injured, and these Nurglings were also pretty beat up. All get up to full HP, and he actually comes in and gives me some more value on that healing, because you know, that Overcast was a little overzealous, we could say. So finally my Plague Bearers have arrived. The Toads, well, I don't know what happened to the Toads. They probably died. I send my Beast of Nurgle up here. My opponent has summoned an Ice Guard. So these all-female elven ice magical enchanted archer hybrid sword unit, really strong. They don't seem like they're super strong. Their missile strength doesn't seem that crazy, but they just butcher the Beast of Nurgle. Like, this guy just, yeah, I mean, you could, he's dead. Very quickly, just deletes that unit. So it's not looking super good for me. I do have control of the middle. Over here, though, I'm trying to kill his stupid mage, but I just can't do it. My units are getting harassed, and he summoned in some winged lancers who got an excellent charge on my Furies. But now that they're engaged in melee, I think, like, okay, you know, we can come back in and maybe still goon his mage. You know, these guys, they don't have their charge bonus in anymore, and without that, their stats kind of suck. So I'm sending in these Toads around the side to go after the Winged Lancers. Not a smart choice. Toads not going to do much of anything against these super armored Winged Lancers. These guys are an anti-infantry unit, so that was a mistake on my part. Otherwise, he's just doing a little trolling here with these Nurglings, who are just, like, cackling happily, sitting on the second objective. Just content to die, really. And die they will. So I'm so desperate to take this first point that I actually send my Lord over here, and he starts wailing on these armored Kossars, who up to this point have killed the entire unit of Plague Bearers. It's actually been these, but they also killed the Toads. So I'm sort of concerned that I've been unable to defeat my opponents. I use Fecundity, which is one of the army-wide abilities that Nurgle gets. Still have not been able to kill his Lord. I mean, the Winged Lancer unit did kind of get owned, but yeah, I just bring a Nurgling unit over here and I just sit it on this objective, and we have captured 2, so we are getting more tickets than our opponent. Although, in terms of value, I think we're not doing super good. We've gotten some effective trades, but it's kind of difficult for Nurgle to ever have an edge. And especially letting my Lord sit here and get peppered by these very dangerous archers is not a great idea. I use Fleshy Abundance on myself. Again, probably a little early. It's a really incredibly good healing spell. I thought he would hit those guys. It hits those Nurglings. I guess that's okay. But you can see he's at full HP, and there's still 6 seconds left on that healing, so could have saved it probably for another 1000 HP. So after killing the mage over here, I think I'm actually chasing her off the battlefield. Yeah, chasing her off the battlefield and the Winged Lancers. I bring the Toads down over here to fight the Griffin Legion, the most elite. That Toad's going on an adventure. The most elite knights in all of Cyrodiil to fight these Toads. Very super bad fight for me. Like, these Toads just not going to do anything against these cavalry. I mean, they weren't going to do anything against the Winged Lancers. This is a really bad fight, and I have more Toads over here to fight Kistalton. Again, not a good choice. They could be going on the armored Kossars. That would be okay. His war sleds are just, you know, hanging out back here, popping shots. They don't even need to get engaged in melee, just expend all their ammunition. I do send my great unclean one to fight the Ice Guard. And he will win, but these women are just getting so much value off of chopping up his flesh. We have taken the first objective. These Kossars never actually walked on it, so these Furies kind of just walked up and ate them. So I've got Nurglings over here, I still have Nurglings over here. So we still have 2 points, even though he very decisively knocked me off the middle. And I don't have much of an army left. I summoned a cultist of Nurgle, so these are just summoned Plague Bearers, because I really enjoy summoned units, and he gets a rear charge in on them. They will despawn after a certain amount of time. So what do I do in response? Well, I just summon a big horde of meat. You know, just casually summon like 30,000 HP that my opponent has to burn through. I can't really kill his units effectively. I kind of can. He's got these horse archers up here just shooting these Nurglings. Apologize for the nightmare glare. But you can see, like, yeah, they're taking some damage, but it's not that big a deal. But the heavy war sleds are coming, and the cavalry squad is on its way. And this poor cultist of Nurgle, yeah, he's going to get run down. He's going to get run down and rear charged by the war sleds. These, yeah, this whole formation of mine just absolutely buckling, dying very quickly. All I've got is a Beast of Nurgle ineffectually slapping Kislev. And Kislevin's just like a tank, you know, I mean, he's going to regenerate himself. He's really hard to hit. He hits quite hard himself in melee. But, you know, we've got quite a lead in points. I finally have defeated these Ice Guard, but my lord took a brutal beating. Just like, yeah, he's not doing so good. And up here, my Nurglings are being smashed by these heavy war sleds. They'll hold for a long time, but they will not win that battle. You can see it says heavy war sleds unit winning decisively. But we do hold the points, and we are 1,000 tickets ahead of our opponent. Granted, that is giving him more supplies, so he is getting more units, because every, I think, 1,000 points you are behind your opponent, you get extra resources to summon in more units. So while I'm just continuously summoning in Plague Bearers to walk onto the objectives, I'm not winning these fights. Amazingly, incredibly, against all odds, I'm actually taking the middle point, and you may be shocked and appalled, but it's really exclusively because I've got 2 Nurglings on it. And Nurglings, if nothing else, have a ton of capture weight, as well as Plague Bearers. Cavalry don't. Cavalry really don't capture points very much at all, and single entity models have like almost nothing. These armored Kossars are very beat up, so they're also not contributing very much to the capturing. So, yeah, and moving all these Plague Bearers on, we're actually able to wrestle away the middle point from Kislev, or just about. He still controls it, but I think we'll take it here in a few seconds. Yeah, okay, so we take the middle objective, and my lord is finally back from his vacation up on the hill. And my army's in tatters. Like, I've got a crappy Nurgling unit over here. We're slowly losing this objective as these Kossars are barely outweighing the Nurglings. So very slowly losing that, but we've got all 3 objectives, so I'm getting 15 tickets every tick, I guess. And I'm still holding Objective 3 because he just can't kill these Nurglings. They have so much HP. And these cavalry, while, you know, very efficient and very strong units, they're just not doing enough work sitting in a melee battle like this. They need to be rear charging. Much like this, like my opponent's doing right now. Charging into my Plague Bearers in the back and trying to break them, trigger their disintegration ability, and just kill them as fast as possible. But realistically, I got 3 points. Look at look at the score. Like, yeah, I mean, my army's in tatters. I got nothing, but I got the points. I'm gonna win off the points. So while and my opponent's trying desperately, like, to push me off the middle, but it's not gonna happen. We will lose Objective 1. We'll probably lose Objective 3 eventually, but it's just too late. And we managed to pull out a win, incredibly, against all odds. Yeah, I mean, if I look at the damage value here, you know, my lord did okay. He didn't He didn't exactly pay for himself, but, you know, he was good enough. The rot flies were bad. They have full HP because they were resummoned. They didn't do enough. The Beast of Nurgle I didn't use effectively at all. The Furies were great. Super, super good. And the Nurglings, amazing. All of them paid for themselves. Or just about. Kislev was fine. You know, Kislev kind of reminds me of Gelt when Warhammer 1 was first released. It wasn't really fleshed out. He didn't have... Yeah, he just wasn't really there. So that's kind of how I feel about Kislev. Like, he's fine, but he needs, like, he probably needs an update to be at an acceptable level. The Wizard was okay. I don't think Kislev's magic is actually very good at all. It's, at least for doing damage, it's a neat sort of utility stuff, Tempest and Ice, that is, but I feel like in terms of damage it's kind of lacking. And Little Grom, yeah, he's kind of like an overpriced artillery piece. Now the Bears were fantastic. Yeah, the War Sled was super good. And these Cossars did okay. These guys, very good. Looking at reinforcements, yeah, I mean, the Plague Bearers, these guys actually, that's very effective. I wonder, how did they do that? Anyway, none of these units, barring this guy, paid for themselves, but I wouldn't have won without the Plague Bearers. Without the Plague Bearers and the Nurglings, I had no chance of winning. They were my most effective unit because they sat on the objective and they lived for a long time. I never summoned Forsaken. That probably would have been a wise decision. The Toads were really not used effectively, so I'm not holding that against them. Yeah, and I didn't summon any of these guys. The Cultists didn't really do much. Griffin Legion kind of got annihilated. I'm not really sure why. I guess just not enough rear charges. This is insane. This is crazy. Yeah, these like elven women are super, super strong. Clearly what I needed to do is get more Furies. Like, my roster has a lack of Furies, so I needed to harass them with flying units. But yeah, I mean, these guys barely participated in the battle and they almost got 1,000 value. Yeah, and these light war sleds also incredible. All these winged lancer units did pretty good. You know, I mean, these guys had a lot of HP. These ones just got owned, but armored Cossars did fine. Yeah, pretty, you know, it was a good game. I think if we were going to 10,000 tickets, you could say, 100% I lose this game. Absolutely lose the game. But because I was able to triple cap my opponent for a period of time, I was able to eke out a win, which is cool. It's pretty difficult to win with Nurgle. He's probably one of the weaker factions in the game. Anyway, thanks for watching.